And welcome into CBS Sports HQ. We are following breaking news right now. Rocket star Russell Westbrook confirming that he has tested positive for coronavirus. Now, Westbrook not currently with his team in Orlando. He sent out this tweet just this afternoon saying, quote, "I tested positive for COVID-19 prior to my team's departure to Orlando. I'm currently feeling well, quarantined, and looking forward to rejoining my teammates when I am cleared. Thank you all for the well wishes and continued support. Please take this virus seriously. Be safe. Mask up. Hashtag why not?" All right, let's bring in NBA insider and writer Bill Reiter to talk about this. Bill, so you and I were discussing right before we came on. So it appears that he took this test before going to Orlando. So I guess that is the silver lining in this for the Rockets as far as, you know, exposing other players to it. Just kind of your reaction when you found out that he tested positive, though.
Yeah, Amanda, had several reactions and trying to lean, as you referenced, toward the positive. This is what the NBA wants. They want to be able to figure out those players who are positive, obviously, before they get to the bubble, allow them to isolate, as Russell Westbrook will do. He'll take another test in the next 24 hours to make sure it wasn't a false positive. If it comes back negative, he'll wait 24 to 48 hours after that. And if it's again negative, he'll rejoin his team. Otherwise, he'll be in isolation until he gets back-to-back tests that show he's no longer positive with COVID-19. But you're right, this is an opportunity for the NBA to try and show and try and hope that this process in the bubble can work. And my other reaction, Amanda, was something we've talked about a lot here on CBS Sports HQ. Not only because the numbers are the numbers and the virus is the virus, are players going to test positive? Superstars are going to test positive. So while it's big news, it's not surprising that eventually this was going to find its way to someone like Russell Westbrook, a former MVP.
Yeah, we talked about that, what the league's reaction would be if we started to see some of these huge names testing positive, and here we are having Russell Westbrook be one of them. Now, according to the NBA's guidelines, they put out, remember, that huge packet of guidelines regarding what's going to happen. They say that players have to self-isolate until they return 2 negative tests 24 hours or more apart. So, Bill, really, it's kind of up in the air. We could see him return to Orlando. It could be a couple days, it could be by the end of this week, or heaven forbid, it could be a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, this virus is such an uncertain thing, and you and I discussed this. I tested positive for the virus a few months ago, and it took me about 3 weeks for positive tests to become negative tests. But for the most part, and most of the folks who have had this virus and who have been okay, and we obviously hope that'll be the case for Russell Westbrook, you're talking 7 to 14 days from the start of being able to test positive. We don't know where he is in terms of how long he's had this virus. And so from a basketball perspective, it's very good news for the Rockets. Not only would you rather have this happen outside of the bubble than in, you'd obviously rather have Russell Westbrook test positive on July 13th than, say, August 5th when he's already there, and it would impact his ability to play. So the way the calendar lays out, where we're at, a few weeks away from basketball games returning that actually count, this is relatively good news for the Rockets.
Yeah, the NBA season set to begin on July 30th. That is 2 weeks exactly from this Thursday. So let's look at it, Bill, from a basketball perspective. He's not there. He's not on the ground with his team getting to practice. What sort of impact, if it does push up right until that point, if he's not able to actually get in practice time with his team, how do you think this is going to impact the Rockets?
I mean, it's a significant impact. We've seen, and against all doubters, certainly including me, how effective what Daryl Morey put together really has been with Westbrook and Harden. It shouldn't work, but it has, and we know, and just talking to folks around the NBA, there's an absolute sense of certainty. You have to have depth. You just have to have it at this restart and when the playoffs roll around. Guys are going to get hurt. We've already seen that from Rajon Rondo. Guys we presume will be out of shape, and certainly there's the possibility that the bubble won't be 100% effective and you'll have some positive tests in the bubble and guys will have to isolate and quarantine. But again, for the Rockets, what they're looking toward is not the 8 games, really. I mean, that's important to get the rust off. They're looking to the postseason and whether or not they can take advantage of this very bizarre NBA postseason experience. If they have Russell Westbrook, they can be a dark horse. They can be a surprise. If they don't, as good as Harden is, we know one-man shows don't tend to get it done.
When you mentioned some of the rest there, now that he's self-quarantining, we don't know necessarily. I mean, we assume he's been working out and is in great shape, but depending on what happens over the next couple of weeks, what version of Russell Westbrook we're going to see when he finally does return.
Yeah, and obviously Westbrook is a high-tempo guy and a remarkable athlete. He attacks the rim, he can play downhill, and he's a guy that's always been in great shape. And you're right, there are questions that we can't answer from Russell Westbrook's social media post that gave us this news. Is he absolutely asymptomatic? That would mean he could still work out at home in isolation to some degree. Does he have a fever? Is he feeling a little nauseous? We know those could be side effects. That would certainly tamp down his ability to stay in shape. A lot of question marks. Feels like all we have these days are question marks when it surrounds COVID-19.
Bill, I'm not sure just from what you're hearing, because we have seen a lot of players, Avery Bradley, different people deciding to opt out. Do you think with Russell Westbrook testing positive, if we start to get a couple more names, especially those that are in the bubble, do you think we anticipate seeing any other players pull out?
I think the line of demarcation between it being what we expect versus it being something that changes the equation will be positive tests within the bubble. We're going to find out to what degree what the NBA has put together can be effective. And we know that there's a delay always 2 or 3 weeks between what's happening with COVID-19 and what we learn about it, right? So if 2 or 3 weeks from now there's a positive test or 5 positive tests or, God help us, multiple positive tests, I think it'll absolutely give pause, not just to players who are in the bubble, but maybe Adam Silver. But if this process can be effective, if the folks who test positive, like Russell Westbrook, do it outside the bubble, quarantine, and are able to go to Orlando without any ability to spread this virus, then I think we'll see full engines ahead. It's one of those unanswered questions we won't know probably until we get to August.
Yeah, so it's a big wait and see for a lot of them. Bill, from your inside knowledge, you know the teams have been there for about a week now. How are things going with them there? And I know your confidence level. We've talked to a lot of our analysts. Hey, what's your confidence level? We're going to get to this point. We're going to see the playoffs. What do you know about what's going on and how the teams are doing? And then also your confidence level that we are actually going to see this thing. We're going to have a final. We're going to see a champion down the line.
I know that NBA sources have never been so easy to get a hold of in my career. That's something that colleagues and I have enjoyed. People are bored. I mean, the reality is, and I think you give the NBA credit, and every major league, every major sports organization and league in this country is doing the best they can. The NBA was able to create a bubble. We think it could be effective, but right now people are down there. They're bored out of their minds. They're trying to stay healthy, and there's a weird combination of uneasiness because it's such a bizarre situation and optimism because who knows who's going to have the advantage on a neutral court with all of this time off. But I can tell you that the folks that are down there in the bubble, even those that are not quarantining, and some are they're bored out of their minds and they're ready for some basketball.
Hey, that's good news for you. You can get a hold of them. Bill Reiter, thank you so much here for joining us. And, of course, we are wishing Russell Westbrook well in getting recovered from COVID soon. So taking a look at some of the key upcoming dates. Today is the 13th. The season does resume on July 30th. We will see if Russell Westbrook is back with the Rockets by that time to play in tournament. The 15th through 16th, the playoffs, the 17th conference final starting September 15th. And then finally, cross our fingers, we get to it, the NBA Finals on September 30th.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.